Welcome into the Cowboys Report here from the NFL Combine in Indianapolis, Indiana. Coming up on today's show, a lot of Stephen Jones comments coming out, including Dak Prescott extension conversation, Tyler Smith, some injury updates, Tony Pollard's future, and we'll be here all week from the NFL Combine. So make sure, of course, you've subscribed and go follow the new Cowboys Report Instagram. It's Cowboys Report IG. We'll link that in the comments section and the description for you guys. Just launched. You'll see a bunch of our behind-the-scenes indie content over there, and, of course, a ton of Cowboys content up there as well. Let's begin with the Stephen Jones comments to media here at the Combine. Among the things he discussed, he commented on the Jerry Jones going all-in comments, saying, quote, "I've never known Jerry not to be all-in in any given year. I think we've got a great team put together. The last 3 years, we've won a lot of football games. Where we have to improve is the postseason. We got to get the right kind of guys who step up and make big plays in the postseason. It's been a challenge in terms of our success there." A lot of words there from Stephen Jones with not a lot of answers in terms of what did Jerry mean when he went all in. I expect more of the same. Until we see this organization actually be aggressive in a way that normal people would define aggressive, not the way this team operates with Stephen Jones calling so many of the shots, I'm simply not going to believe them when they say stuff like, we'll be aggressive and be all in. All in for them, I still think means maybe they'll sign a guy to a 1-year, $5 million deal. I think it's doable. I think that's a reasonable ask. Beyond that, my hopes remain low. Now let's go to Dak Prescott because, of course, this won't be going away anytime soon. Stephen Jones actually didn't say that much, despite alleged leaks to the Dallas Morning News might indicate otherwise. Said they, in terms of not saying much, said they want to re-sign Dak Prescott, make that priority. Wouldn't confirm that they'd be meeting with with Dak Prescott's agent here at the Combine, which I'd be pretty shocked if they didn't, and would be a massive red flag if they did not. He did say this of, do you want to have Dak as your quarterback? Oh, yes. Absolutely, Stephen said. Our whole thing with Dak is him being a Cowboy. That's all that's on our mind. Okay. Again, this went so badly and so ugly the first time. I need to see them do it smoothly the next time before I really get on board and believe it. So what do you think? Will the Cowboys end up extending Dak Prescott? Y for yes, N for no. It's the pinned comment on this video. If the ad comes here on YouTube, take advantage of it. Head down there. Let me know at the pinned comment right now. Let's move to some Tyler Smith. Then we'll get to injury news later on here. Almost jumped ahead of myself. The Cowboys not really committing to a position quite yet for Tyler Smith. I have obviously been plenty negative today. I think this does make sense. However, he was asked, is Tyler Smith, Stephen was asked again, is he going to stay at left guard? That remains to be seen, Stephen said. It's starting to feel like Larry Allen all over again. His versatility certainly brings options to the table in terms of how we look at this team moving forward. Invoking Larry Allen, who, of course, was so good at guard for so many years for the Cowboys, makes me think that's a path they're going to pursue, maybe more likely, but there's still time. So where should Tyler Smith play? Left tackle or left guard, LT or LG? Go ahead and sound off for me in the comments section right now. What you do with Tyler Smith will cause a massive impact with what you do opposite, or left of him, I should say, or I guess right of him as well. Tyron Smith's a free agent. I'm sure they'll talk with his agency here at the Combine this week, or his people, whatever. If you put him at left tackle, maybe you could survive with TJ Bass for a year. Give him a chance. Maybe you sign a cheaper or draft somebody. If you put him at left guard, left tackle is a pretty big, blinking, flashing, giant need because Tyron's a free agent, and he's had issues staying healthy in the past. I would also argue, I think Tyler Smith was better this year at left guard. Now, not a huge surprise to see the pressure numbers up at left tackle versus left guard. It's harder. That's why when people fail at tackle, they kick them inside to guard. But the sacks and the hits and the hurries all went down fairly significantly. The run grade went up, if you believe PFF. The penalties did stay flat. That remains an issue. He was a penalty boy in Tulsa, and that has been indicative of his play so far in the NFL. What matters here is this. I think you have to make a decision this offseason. I don't want to sit around waiting for that to happen. I think you could wait until free agency / the draft. Figure out who you take in round 1 or round 2, round 3, whatever. what you do in free agency, but I don't think I think you have to make a decision here. I think you need to find a way to set yourself up for success and be in a position to know what you're going to do with him long term. I don't want to keep flipping him back and forth every single offseason. Today's show is made possible by Game Time. Game Time is the place for last-minute tickets to your next big sporting event, whether that is, NBA games, NHL games, Stars, Mavs, or whatever's local for you. Or maybe there's not many sports near you, or you're not an NBA, hockey, or baseball fan, as I know producer Chris is a big one here. I'm using Game Time a lot for that. You can do it for music, for concerts, for theater, etc. I'm a big fan of their zone deals. Saw one for that Mavs Pacers game we showed you. You pick the section, Game Time picks the seats for an average of 18% saving. Because who cares which seat you end up sitting in? You're probably in a pretty good one if you're picking a decent section. The Game Time guarantee means you'll always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time is going to credit you 110% of the difference. So download the Game Time app today, create your account, and use code CowboysChat for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply, but create your account and use code COWBOYSCHAT for $20 off. Links in the comments and the description of today's show. Now, Steven also dropped some fairly noteworthy injury updates here. First two are very good news here. Trevon Diggs should be back in time for camp, if not a little bit sooner, from his torn ACL. The same is true of DeMarvion Overshown, another torn ACL. We'll see how the return to play versus return to performance angle ends up merging. That was a big issue for Terrence Steele this year. Remains an issue for Michael Gallup, but those two look pretty good. Meanwhile, Leighton Vander, Esch, maybe not a very positive comment made from Stephen Jones. He was asked about a return timeline for LVE. What's going to be his status? Stephen says, quote, "We'll let Leighton speak on that," or speak to that. Same thing. That's not a good sign. If you're allowing the player to tell the media, it's not a great sign for his neck. Even if he does come back, you're not going to expect him to stay healthy for an entire season. So I think the Cowboys' mindset, I think the likely outcome as well, don't expect Leighton Vander Esch back out on the football field for this team. Maybe they'll let him keep his guaranteed money, which I'm sure is guaranteed for injury anyway, for his base salary. But I don't think you're going to have Vander Esch out there, which, funny enough, I think he would have been the best fit for Mike Zimmer at linebacker under contract right now. You got to figure out that spot, and this combine will be a big part of that. Now, we'll have plenty of combine coverage for you here. I'm sure we'll get some clips from players who inform us they've met with the Cowboys. We'll focus on the formal interviews. The informal don't really matter all that much because pretty much everyone gets an informal. That's just a scout gets your info to reach out later to an extent sometimes. Hit that sub button for more free Dallas Cowboys YouTube videos. Over to Tony Pollard now. This one coming out over the weekend. Adam Schefter, breaking news, quote unquote, or on Monday it came out, I should say, not over the weekend. Pollard's not going to be tagged, which, of course, that we knew that going in. He was never going to be tagged. The money didn't make any sense. We broke that down on a previous video. Of note, though, Clarence Hill reporting this morning on Tony Pollard, saying, quote, "The Cowboys want Tony Pollard back in 2024, but at a much cheaper price. The team is focused on bringing him back and pairing him with a bigger back, possibly in the NFL draft." Does not bode well for Rico Dowdle in particular. Nothing overly shocking there. The cheaper price maybe should be big, bold letters there, because I think that does matter a lot in this angle. So we'll spend some more time on this here, but do you even want to bring back Tony Pollard if it is at that right price, ATRP, as the Cowboys love so much? A for yes, B for no. Go ahead and sound off for me in the comments section right now. In the end, this comes down to the money, as it so often does. And if he is cheap, I have no issues with this. Yes, he was disappointing last year. I still think if you're ranking those free agent running backs, he's probably still going to crack the top 5 or at least be close to it, even if it wasn't the same caliber of year that I know so many of us were hoping for. Even in a down year, his 4.0 yards per carry and his 1,000 yards is better than most of the free agent backs. Does that mean I want to give him $6 million? Absolutely not. And if I were the Cowboys, which they don't listen to me very often these days, maybe sometimes for the best, maybe sometimes not. Let's monitor this market in general. The run with Derrick Henry's not going to get tagged. Jacobs, Saquon, Eckler, Joe Mixon might get cut. Talking to some Bengals people. We'd be a little surprised if he wasn't cut. The supply of running backs outweighs the top-end demand. You do not need to pay $10 million. You can play the cap economics if you want to and find a good player at a fraction of the cost. And at a certain point, that becomes a value deal that actually makes a lot of sense, and you don't need to pay a big, fat, multi-year deal and commit yourself to one running back and get the same issue you've had over and over again with this team. I think you can find a cheap deal, and I hope that's what the Cowboys end up doing.